Okay, guys, hey, it's Dr. Leaf. I'm doing this for career development and counseling since the university is moving this entirely online for the rest of the semester. I truly appreciate all of your patience. I wish I could tell you that all the changes were done and that you shouldn't anticipate anymore. But I can't quite say that right now. We're almost done with all the changes. I know we've got assignments and things like that, and I'm working on a plan that's fair and equitable. But most importantly, more important than the assignments, is that you guys are taking care of yourselves and your family, because we really can't help others if we can't help ourselves. So it's really important that you take care of yourself, your loved ones, your friends. Take care of all those things. I am here to support you through this. Right? So please don't stress out over school. You've got this, and we're gonna make it work. So my goal is still to make sure that you leave here feeling prepared for the NCE, and that you leave here feeling like you have the ability to anticipate problems people might have with careers and jobs and career satisfaction, and how to work with those. So always feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Also, bear with me. I don't have a huge amount of YouTube experience, but I'm getting there. I think this is pretty cool. I got like the microphone now and everything. I'm looking at a tripod. I'm still not sure where I'm supposed to look. Thank you for your patience, and don't ever hesitate to let me know now or in the future what you need help with, because I'm here to help you guys. And that's what our profession should focus on, is making sure that we're each able to have the career that we want. So yeah, that's what I've got going on. So I'm gonna switch over to PowerPoint and go over it. So this is gonna be a brief one. I'm learning it's difficult to gauge how long you should go when you're making a video and there's a PowerPoint involved and stuff like that. So, I'm going to rely a little bit on feedback from you guys if there was enough detail or if I need more. This is right out of the Scharf textbook. Some of it, again, is memorization for your NCE. And the other part of it is understanding that these are the issues that come up for many people. And when we talk about career counseling and people struggling with their jobs, these are some of the things that we talk about. So before the university, I don't want to say closed, it didn't close. Before we went online, we had covered what happens in childhood, right? Seeing what mom and dad do or caregivers do, and then developing interest and firming them up. What is the tolerable expectation? What is the tolerable boundary, right? So it took us right up to that 16, 17, 18, maybe a little bit more area. Now we're gonna go to, I think it's fair to say, mid and late adulthood career crises and transitions. So let's kind of dive right in. And right off the bat, one of the big things to remember is the difference between a transition and a crisis. Crisis is probably the easier concept. Crisis is, I didn't expect this to happen. It's disruptive, it's intrusive. So think for a second, go ahead and pause the video if you would. What are some examples of crises for careers? That's probably a long enough pause. Things like, look at what's happening currently, right, with Corona. So being laid off, not having sick time, not having vacation time, living paycheck to paycheck. But it can also be that a company is downsizing or goes under. It can be what happened in, I forget when it happened, but with Enron, right? Finding out that your retirement fund, that nest egg, is all gone, right? So those are crises. You don't have control over them. They hit you. You don't really plan for them. That's kind of the necessary ingredient to make a crisis, is that it's unpredicted. As opposed to transitions, which are changes, right? And sometimes the changes, they can be abrupt, but they're not catastrophic. They can be planned for. And this might be, we live in a military city, right? So it might be, I have a career, I'm really happy here, and then my partner who's in the military gets relocated, they get deployed. It means I got to stop working. It can be that a company is merging with another company. It could be transitioning to retirement or into a management role, right? Things like that. They can be unanticipated, right? And examples of those would be you're given new marching orders. We're gonna do this thing, and so you now have to take on added responsibility. You may have a pay cut, right? Chronic castles, right? So it's just things that happen over and over again. So having a toxic coworker. And then non-events. What do you think non-events mean? It's kind of an odd word, right? Well, what we mean with non-events is this didn't happen. I didn't get the promotion. I didn't get the raise. I'm not where I thought I would be in life. And those are the really human things. Those are the things that I worked with a lot when career stuff came up, was the stuff that didn't happen. And of course, crises, right, that come in. I don't know what I'm gonna do now. So Schlossberg focuses on transition to retirement. This is a really big deal, retirement, and a lot of people talk about retirement like it's a good thing, and I imagine it is a good thing. It doesn't mean that it doesn't come without its own set of stress or angst or existential crisis, if that's your thing, right? Who am I if I'm not working? And so the 4 S's, right? Situation, what is the situation? Is it good? Is it bad? Voluntary, involuntary? Is the timing good? So you're sitting there with your client. So this is the practical piece, and they're telling you this thing is happening, or I'm going to retire. You're asking for the details. Is this what you want? Was this planned? Are you ready for it? Self. So what about them? What does this mean for you? So I've shared with you all that my LPC supervisor, considerably older than I am, from the traditionalist generation, a man works. That's what a man does. For him, retirement was really scary, because if I'm not working, what does that mean? Does that mean that I do nothing? Does that mean that I'm lazy? Does it mean that I'm done, right? And so what does it mean for them? Culture, right? The man of the house, right? If we're being very stereotypical, that traditional masculine normal role, right? This is what I do. What about your health? And you can see now that plays a huge role, right? What about benefits and things like that? Support. Who is helping you? Who do you have in your life? This is always a good question to ask, regardless of the counseling topic. What support system do you have? And strategies. How are you going to manage that? So one that comes up all the time, and I see this happen a lot with in couples counseling, or I guess an individual too, when a relationship ends, and retirement does the same thing. What are you going to do with this massive influx of time, right? And that's what hits people first, right? Everybody thinks about the when they retire, I'm gonna go backpack across Europe, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna read, I'm gonna fish. Going back to my earlier example with relationships, that everybody thinks of I'll start a new relationship, I'm gonna date, I'm gonna do all that. But before those things happen, there is this time, right? So for jobs, you were used to spending, if you're lucky, am I right, 40 hours at your job. For a lot of people, it's a lot more. So what are you gonna do? You've got 40 hours a week back in your pocket in relationships. Every night you're spending with somebody, you're going out and spending every waking moment with someone, and now you're not. That's a lot of free time. So what are you gonna do with that time? What are you gonna do when you get bored? What are you gonna do when you get lonely, right? How do you take care of yourself? And that's where we look at hobbies and interests. We look at values, what's important to you. And for some people, it's gonna be things like, I'm gonna spend all my time watching movies and reading books. And other people are gonna say, I wanna get involved with the community, right? Because I need to do something. Types of careers, right? The kaleidoscope, and the book does a really good job of explaining this. many daily decisions, right? And some of us are going through that. That's what we're going through here as faculty, right? All the different changes. What can we do? What can't we do? What are expectations? And so decisions are always being made. Boundary issues in work, but in this case, boundary-less, what we mean is that there's a lot of rotations. You're being moved around. Your tasks change all the time, right? So this is where we see people in workplaces where they say, we all wear many different hats, right? We all have to chip in and do different things, right? Protean, things that are self-directed. I can do my own thing. This is what a lot of people think. There's a lot of changes, but the person's in control of it. So, as I was saying earlier, with transition and crises, with transition, we can typically control for it somehow. You're given a heads up. Even if you don't want it, most of the time you're given a heads up. And you can mitigate the discomfort or angst that comes with moving from one stage to another. With crisis, it's sudden, it's disruptive, by definition, a crisis is not wanted. And this gives quite a bit of stressors. We would expect it to influence things at home and stuff like that. So one way of measuring a person's ability to transition a career is, of course, with an inventory, but rather go over a scale. It's important to understand the concepts, because you can take the concepts and use this in your clinical interview with your client. Readiness, is the person ready to make the change, right? Do they have motivation? Do they want it, in other words? Do you want that extra responsibility? Do you want to be a more integral part of this? Are you ready to retire? Are you ready for a career change? And I did that a little bit before I became a faculty member here, or a full-time faculty member. I was a counselor for several years practicing, and then I pivoted into a very administrative role. So absolutely non-clinical, running reports, upholding policies, dealing with issues and things like that, not using any of that. And that was a big change, because I had, I like to think I had a lot of counseling skill. That was not now going to be used. Now it was going to be all this administrative stuff. And it was, are you ready to set that aside? And when I was meeting with people who were going to hire me, who had known that I had this long counseling career, they had asked, are you ready to pivot, that was her exact word, into a different career? We know that you can do this, but are you ready to let go of your clinical career, right? The job was great, it worked out fine, but this is amazing. I love being a faculty member. Confidence. Do they feel they can handle the change? So I want this, right? And you will hear this all the time, right? I want this, but I don't know if I can do it. I really want more responsibility. I really want to be a manager. I really want to be a supervisor. I really want to be a chef. I'm a counselor and I want to be a chef, whatever it might be, but I don't know if I could do it, Control. Can they make the decision? People do not like it when decisions are made for them, right? So can they make their own decisions with this? Can they decide when and how and where and all of that good stuff? It makes a really big difference if they can't. And some people, when they can't, they're absolutely okay with it. They're kind of like, I don't get to choose, but whatever, or it's not my ideal place, but the pros outweigh the cons and things like that. Perceived support. So how much support they feel from others, that one helps with the other two. So someone who's lacking confidence but feels they have the support from their loved ones, from family, from peers and mentors, that makes a really big difference. With control, they're able to say, I'm not in control, but at least I have this person, that person, this community, that community, right? And decision independence. Are their decisions being made because they want it, it's their own, or are they making it because of other people, such as with family, right? So lots of people who, I retired and then I went back to work because we needed the benefits. My partner or my kids needed benefits. it was really important for my partner to live next to her family, or maybe they were going through their own grief and loss stuff and we needed to relocate. So am I doing it for myself, or am I doing it for someone else, or some combination of the two? So Hobson and Adams also have a model of transitions. And so the first one, and some of y'all may have been in this position, it's kind of immobilizing when you're told this is going to happen, you're going to relocate, right? Or what if one day, this would never happen, but I'm still going to knock on wood anyway, they close UTSA, or our department stops existing, right? There'd be some shock, like, oh my goodness. On the flip side, it could be, hey, you guys are moving to your dream city, right? Your job is relocating you, and that might be fantastic, right? But it's so much, even good change, you stress, right? You stress, which is the good kind, is taxing, right? And it can be immobilizing. I don't know what to do. I'm so excited, right? Minimizing, make the changes appear smaller. This is not that big of a deal. Don't get too excited. It's balancing. That's just kind of a human thing to do. And in counseling, that's where we would dig that out. Why are you minimizing the good aspects of this? If it's bad and they're minimizing it, then we kind of push, like, might you be minimizing some of the discomfort with the change? Self-doubt. I don't know if I can do this. Would I be happy in that city? Letting go, right? Adjusting to, like, okay, this is what it is. Acceptance, essentially. Testing out, trying alternatives, right? Maybe you don't want the change, so what is an alternative? Searching for meaning. What does this mean about me? What does this mean about my family? Or what does it mean for me? What does it mean for my family? More time at home, less time at home, more responsibility, less responsibility, more money, less money, right? And then internalizing, changing your values and lifestyle to match the situation, right? So somebody, they may be really excited for this promotion they get, and they get this big old fat raise, and it's great, and they love what they do. But with it comes more time and more responsibility, and less time to pursue other hobbies and interests that they may have had before. So they have to change their lifestyle now. Specifically for women, some unique career crises: leaving and re-entering the workforce, sexual harassment, discrimination. Tills lists 5 levels of sexual harassment. Gender harassment, you're a woman, you can't do that, that's man's work. Seductive behavior, which, just like it sounds. Sexual bribery, quid pro quo. Sexual coercion, you better do this or I'll fire you. And sexual assault, right? And so prior to being a full-time faculty member, I was a Title IX coordinator, and that deals with gender and sex and equity in higher education. And so we see this in academia with students, and want to make sure that everything's equitable. It's not always a sexual assault, and it's also never a sexual assault, right? So these things happen, and they also happen in the workplace. And so that's something that as counselors, as social advocates, we fight for and advocate for social justice and equity. And there are also unique crises that affect diverse populations, so the different multicultural factors. And again, I know y'all are probably sick of me saying this. It's not just ethnicity. It can be religion, orientation, socioeconomic status, country of origin. So lots of different cultural factors. But discrimination, right? And that, unfortunately, this is incredibly common. Abusive or insulting language, poor pay or small raise. So inequity, right? The majority guy gets the bigger pay raise, bigger starting salary, nicer office, better benefits, right, than someone who's in a minority demographic. lack of advancement, so not moving forward. And then double jeopardy and even triple jeopardy, right? You can kind of go up, but being a female and a member of a minority group. But you can see how this can stack, right? It could be that I'm a older female, bisexual, African American female, right? So there's lots of these this is intersectionality, right? Everything running together, and then having all of those factors being discriminated against for one reason or another, and then having them be discriminated against in tandem. So those are some of the things that we would expect to see, and that's where I really encourage y'all to focus on those multicultural skills. Same for, I'm gonna go back a slide, working with women, and this also is not, just to be clear, it is not only with women, it is by and large more often with women though. Going back to your multicultural skills, and I know some of y'all have not been to multicultural yet, and that's absolutely okay. You're gonna go there and learn a whole lot, but how do I work with that when I don't know what it's like to be discriminated against? I don't know what it's like to not get the job and to feel like it's because of my minority status. I don't know what it's like to be coerced into a relationship or a sexual relationship. So how do I, as someone who's not experienced that, and maybe can't experience that in the same way, how do I have that session with my client, right? I think that's gonna do it for this presentation. Again, I appreciate your patience. If you have feedback, definitely feel free to share it with me. I promise you, y'all are at the top of my mind, at the forefront of my mind. I'm trying to put together the best educational resources I can for y'all. Do not hesitate to let me know what you need from me, and I promise I'm going to be on top of everything and giving you all the information. I don't want y'all more stressed out than this probably already feels. So I'm here for you. I hope each of you is well, stay well, and I wish I had like a cool sign off. Bring me pictures of Spider-Man, right? So let me know what you need, and I'll see what I can do. I hope each of you is well. Take care. Bye-bye. Feedback, definitely feel free to share it with me. I promise you, y'all are at the top of my mind, at the forefront of my mind. I'm trying to put together the best educational resources I can for y'all. Do not hesitate to let me know what you need from me, and I promise I'm going to be on top of everything and giving you all the information. I don't want y'all more stressed out than this probably already feels. So I'm here for you. I hope each of you is well, stay well, and I wish I had like a cool sign off. Bring me pictures of Spider-Man, right? So let me know what you need, and I'll see what I can do. I hope each of you is well. Take care. Bye-bye.